Is Jesus enough? Number 101. Welcome back. Today, we'll be looking at the Gospel of John to see how we are to focus on Jesus and Him alone to meet our needs. So let's get started. John 6 verses 30 to 41. So they asked him, "What sign then will you perform, so that we may see it and believe you? What will you do? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written. He gave them bread from heaven to eat." Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I tell you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." "Sir," they said, "give us this bread at all times." Jesus answered, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never hunger, and whoever believes in me will never thirst. But as I stated, you have seen me, and still you do not believe. Everyone the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will never drive away. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but to do the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I shall lose none of those he has given me, but raise them up at the last day. For it is my Father's will that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day." At this, the Jews began to grumble about Jesus because he had said, "I am the bread that came down from heaven." My thoughts, they were looking for something else. As Jesus had said in John 6 verse 26, "You seek me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled." They were looking for bread, for miracles and signs, for something else besides Jesus. This situation is not unique to this particular place, people, or season. Since the fall of Adam and Eve, we have struggled with wanting something else, anything but a vital, transformative, benevolent relationship with our King and our God. This is the effect sin has had on every human being since the fall. But Jesus shares some really good news that, if we're not careful, we'll completely miss. He says, "Everyone the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will never drive away." John 6 verse 37. Although the lower nature resists God at every level, he gives us the grace to break the bonds of rebellion and receive the bread of life. Yes, this is truly good news. God's grace is strong enough to break even what comes natural to us in our resistance toward him and make himself irresistible. The blinders are removed, and Jesus becomes the focus of our desires. Jesus is enough. As disciple makers, we need to let two concepts sink deep into our hearts. First, we are chosen by God and given to his Son, Jesus Christ. It is a part of our identity, and it should have serious leverage in our thinking and our actions. And secondly, our value comes from him, not the ministry we do. Yes, God is pleased with our right choices, efforts, and sacrifices, but our worth and identity cannot be wrapped up in either our results or lack thereof. Jesus is enough in times of fruitfulness and drought. My story. I once was asked by a guy I was discipling, "Isn't Jesus enough?" Now let me put his statement into context. He was struggling with following Jesus at the most elementary levels. And I have to admit, I was pretty disappointed in his lackluster efforts to even make his statement sound authentic. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. The statement wasn't addressing his problem. It was addressing mine. He was the only guy I was mentoring. I was in full-time ministry, and this was the only guy God had given me, my only little one-eyed, three-legged lamb. And I was miserable. I had expectations. Now that I had been to Bible college, seminary, and was a professional clergy person, people would flock to my influence, right? No. My ministry was a spiritual drought zone. But God was doing a different work in my life. A lesson that was just as important as all those theological and Bible courses I had sat through in school. And that lesson came through the most unlikely person. I was looking to my ministry for identity and worth. I have to admit that his question haunted me for years. But God is patient and will keep working in our hearts and shaping our character until we get it. Finally, I can truly say Jesus is indeed enough. Our action plan. Now it's time for application. Here's some ideas. Do a study looking at characters in the scriptures that went through dry times and what rescued them. Do a heart inventory. How did you feel the last time very few people or no people came to your event? Was God still pleased with your efforts to obey Him? Talk to those you are mentoring about the dangers of getting self-worth from ministry results. Jesus is indeed enough, as He provides all we need for spiritual nourishment and eternal life. This profound truth should shape our identity, worth, and ministry, reminding us that our value comes from Christ alone, not our accomplishments or the fruits of our labor.